Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Wednesday, January 3rd. Just want to do a quick market update. So one thing I want to talk about is the harsh sell-off that BTC just saw. Obviously, some of this was on the back of this kind of fake news. I don't know if it's fake really, but clearly, a lot of liquidation happened, almost half a billion, closer to $1 billion by now of liquidations. And it was on the back of the spot ETF being rejected. But apparently, there's really no solid news to back it or indicate that. And I just found that kind of interesting that is what is being, this is being based off of. So anyway, as we kind of look back, I don't know where the tweet is where people started talking about the rejection. But anyway, as you can see, the senior Bloomberg analysts kind of say that we have not heard anything to indicate anything but approval. But obviously that kind of spread really fast like wildfire on Twitter. And a whole lot of liquidations happen. You can kind of see here, huge drop in open interest, almost about like $1 to $1.5 billion wiped off. Here in BTC open interest, if you kind of go back on open interest overall, you'll see Ethereum open interest wiped out 12%. Solana was kind of interesting, 27% open interest wiped out. Ordinals 23%. 31% on Teller. And again, a lot of these coins, right? I mean, this to me is normal because a lot of this stuff was really, really heavily pushed up over the past few weeks and probably the past few months. And I'm glad we got some of this cleared up. Now, the other thing is, do we think that from here the market is bottomed or topped? I don't really know, right? I think one should probably look at this and say, well, I mean, this does look like a top in the making, but we're also in a pretty large uptrend, right? This is a very substantial uptrend that we've had. And to question that and start taking the opposite side of it is unwise, right? Let's just say. So what do we do in this situation? Well, I think, for the most part, given that the open interest is cleared up, we should assume that some form of bottoming process may be forming. I'm not particularly saying the bottom is in, but I do think that, first of all, we are maintaining this big uptrend. We tagged that trend line perfectly, as you could see. We're now above this local trend line right here, right? So for the most part, you got to at least to some degree assume that this has to be a local bottom. Now, if that breaks, right, let's just say we do something like this, and then we start rolling over again by mid-January or February, then I'm going to assume we're probably headed to 38, 39K minimum, right? But again, I don't really think we need to think that far. What I do think we need to start looking at is projects that I've mentioned before and shift in leadership that I've mentioned before, right? So I mentioned this on December 28th, and also in mid-December, I kind of talked about why I believe there's a shift happening in the leadership headed into January. And I think I was wrong in Matic because as you can kind of see, Matic is just, it kind of looks like it's dead in the water in a sense because it's not bouncing up. But new leaders are emerging, like Arbitrum, right? Arbitrum is up very nicely and handsomely on the day. SEI is up almost 16% or 17% on the day. SKL, which is the Scale network, which is up very, very nicely on the day, right? So for the most part, I think you got to look at the market and say, all right, well, there is a shift in leadership, and Solana is not part of that leadership headed into January. Matic is not it. Rune, Atom, these things are all still pretty heavily red on the day. And even Ethereum is kind of red on the day, right? BTC is still red, but again, at least BTC has tailwinds because it has we still have this ETF approval ahead of us, right? So for the most part, what I see happening is the shift in leadership is a telling sign that the markets are starting to reprice things for other projects. And because I kind of mentioned already that, things like Say, Mina, Matic, Arbitrum, and probably ETH are going to be the ones you want to be paying attention to. This is where now you want to start creating some edge between yourself doing some research and potentially exploring these platforms versus other people who may still be focused on, I don't know, meme coins or purely Solana or really anything else but the stuff that is that I kind of spoke about, which may be gaining leadership, right? So yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit more. So Scale Network here, you can go to scale.space on their website. You could bridge to Scale. Now again, I talked about this on my Twitter feed, and you can kind of see like you could basically, once you get to Scale, right, you can go through the Europa network technically to get bridged into Scale. And once you get bridged into Scale, it kind of looks like this, right? So you have first the ecosystem. Here's kind of like all the different applications and platforms. And you have games and NFT stuff and DeFi stuff. And so all kinds of really, really interesting things being built out. And then you have things like this human protocol, which is kind of like it seems to me like a DPIN style, DPIN slash DeFi style protocol. But this is again on Scale Network. And to, buy things like the human protocol, you can also use Ruby Exchange, which is, I think, probably the one of two bigger dexes or exchanges on Scale. And so, this is where you can start basically either bridging in, swapping, buying tokens, staking, farming, providing liquidity, etc. Right? So all this stuff you could do through Ruby Exchange, ruby.exchange. Okay. Now, the other thing is we talked about Say, right, which is another ecosystem. Now, again, remember L1s were pretty popular 2 years ago, and I think they're still popular because I think the market is still trying to figure out where is the space heading, right? Is Solana going to be the only L1 aside from ETH? Is ETH kind of dead without the ZKs or L2s like Scale? Is Monad, I talked about Monad before too, right? Monad is another parallelized EVM, meaning they're basically going to make Ethereum itself better, faster, and cheaper, kind of what Solana is, right? And again, I still fundamentally believe that Solana is probably a better community, a better ecosystem, just simply because it's just Solana. You don't need L2s, you don't need to build other, roll-ups and dApps and ZKs and all that. It's just Solana. So the simplicity in branding itself is very good, right? But again, Ethereum is much larger and it's bulkier, and there's a lot of sticky, applications and developers and money, and so it's not going to go away, right? And so Monad is probably going to be one of those things where it will help sort of scale Ethereum and EVM as a whole, and so you want to be paying attention to Monad too. They don't have a token. I don't even think they have a working ecosystem yet, but it's something that you want to be watching. And same kind of goes for Celestia too, right? We talked about Celestia before. Celestia is similar to Monad, I think, where they're trying to basically help scalability and speed of Ethereum. So all these different ideas and protocols are coming out of the woodwork, for Ethereum. So in that sense, I don't think Solana or any other L1 is just going to quickly or swiftly replace Ethereum. I think there's just going to be a bifurcation, a sort of reemergence in how protocols interact and communicate with Ethereum, for users to better interact and communicate and trade and engage with Ethereum related DeFi applications, right? And that will be either via Celestia, via Monad, or via things like Scale Network. And so these are the things that you want to be watching, right? And so I already started playing around with Scale. Haven't really played around much with Celestia. I knew about it like maybe a year and a half ago, I think. I listened to a podcast on it, but didn't really do a whole lot. But now, Scale is still, in my opinion, a pretty decent going sort of ecosystem, and it's got developers on it. People are trying to build applications for it. Cool things are happening. So I think in that regard, you want to be paying attention, right? So again, Celestia, Monad, um, you know, and on Scale Network, of course, things like Ruby Exchange is what you want to be kind of looking into. And then Say, I already talked about, right? I mean, again, this is a different L1. They have their own ecosystem growth. I tried Say, I got to be honest, like this is the Compass app that I used for Say. It's a little bit clunkier. I don't know. I didn't really find Say all that great, to be honest. I actually felt that the experience on Scale, which again is, basically an Ethereum sort of ZK, is better. And that to me was surprising. I actually thought that the Say ecosystem would have been better. The entire UX UI would be better, but surprisingly, it wasn't. And so, in fact, I would probably say as of this moment, I think Solana is really up there. Right behind it is probably, you know, Ethereum, as well as Ethereum related things like Scale Network, So anyway, that's what I want to talk about, right? Now, other things, of course, other projects that you want to be looking at. I was talking about Floor Protocol last time with someone, and I'm going to mention it again. So this is kind of your NFT related platform. There's going to be many NFT platforms that are going to come about. This is one. Tensor Trade is another. Tensor.trade. That's the other one. Let me see. I think, that there's, yeah. Anyway, point is like there's going to be a bunch of different protocols that are going to come about. And you want to be watching, things like that head into the future where, NFT projects are going to start creating really, really great platforms for NFT interactions, for um, um, fractionalized NFTs, for staking and liquidity provisions, all kinds of cool stuff. We also talked about ovals, right? Ovals.com. This also has the ability to buy NFTs right through the platform. They have the ability for you to stake. They have different apps for Essence points. They have a launch pad for creators, Oval packs, dollar cost averaging strategy, fractionalizing NFTs, and then market making and staking your liquidity via the Oval token and Solana, right? So all kinds of really, really interesting projects that you want to be watching and paying attention to. And then last but not least, this is more of a meme token, so I'm not going to mention it a whole lot. This is Draco. Draco is kind of the new and hot project that people are talking about. It sold off heavily probably because everybody was basically airdropped a bunch of tokens. So I think everybody just decided to take profit on them. So it could actually just go to zero for all I know. But it's something to watch, right? Because sometimes like meme coins do well in the future. For a meme coin that's 6 or 5 million, it's still kind of expensive. Um, I mean, this one dog with hat is 110 million. So I don't know. I mean, meme coins have their own nature of how they boom and bust in different cycles. So I'm not going to say anything, but you can check out Draco Solana on their Twitter page. This is their website. You can check that out there. Tokenomics, 1 trillion Draco, 50% is airdropped. This is their tokenomics for growth and liquidity and everything. All right. So anyway, that's pretty much it, right? Just overall market structure. I just wanted to mention, yeah, Sol and ARB, Mina, say, SKL. What else? 1inch I already spoke about a few days back. What else? Yeah, I think that's it. That's pretty much it. Everything else is relatively red, so nothing really important to talk about. Okay. All right. Good luck, everybody. Take care. Cheers. And again, if you want to find me on Twitter, find me here, 0xamol, and I'll be happy to provide more updates. The Discord link for our community is below. Chat soon. Okay. Cheers.